Hello guys, welcome to FUNNET, a professional network training channel. This is our first video. In follow-up videos, we will talk about some basic network technologies, and today I'll introduce the structures of these basic network technologies. As we see in the slide, the basic technologies include 6 sections: computer network fundamentals, LAN switching, advanced TCP/IP, IP routing, configuration a secure branch network, WAN access and interconnection. Upon completing the learning of these videos, we can be able to master the basic principle of computer network communications and the TCP/IP principle, master the principles and the configuration of routers and Ethernet switches, master the principles, configuration, and maintenance the LAN and WAN protocols, master the basic principles and the configuration of IP routes and the routing protocol, take charge of installation, configuration, and maintenance of low-end routers, handle common failures in network connection and software configuration of routers. And the detailed training contents includes basic network knowledges, OSI model, and TCP/IP model, IP subnetting and major TCP/IP working principle, typical LAN and WAN technologies, working principle and basic configuration of routers and Ethernet switches, principles and configurations of IP routing and routing protocols, packet filtering by ACL, address translation principle and configurations, principle and configurations of PPP and HDLC. Okay, let's explore each chapters in details. As is shown in the slide, the chapters of computer networking fundamentals, we can learn about basic concepts of computer networks, TCP/IP stack, and OSI model, basic principle of LANs and WANs, basic principle of IP, TCP, and UDP. During the chapters, we can master the definition, classification, and major concepts of computer networks, understand hierarchical network models, understand the basic principle of technologies and protocols used on the data link layer, network layer, and the transport layer. For the second chapter, we can learn the knowledges such as short and switches Ethernet, learning forwarding and filtering logic for Ethernet switches, VLAN, L2.1Q label, and trunk links, basic principles, functions, features, and configurations of STP, RSTP, and MSTP, basic principles, functions, features, and configurations of port security, and integration technologies of switches. After the learning of this part, we will understand the working principles of Ethernet switches, be able to configure the VLANs and the trunks in a small switches network environment, understand the principles of the spanning tree protocol, and perform the basic configurations. Perform the basic configurations of port security and the link aggregations of switches. And the third part, evidence TCP/IP, includes IP subnetting, VLSM, and CIDR, functions and system components of DNS, domain name structures, and domain names resolutions, functions, features, and working principle of FTP, functions, features, and system components of DHCP, features, addressed, and classification of IPv6, IPv6 never discovered protocol, IPv6 address resolution, and automatic IPv6 address configuration. And we will be able to plan a locate IP address, understanding the working principle of IP-related protocols such as DHCP, FTP, and DFTP, and DNS, and perform the basic configurations and operations, understand the characteristic of the IPv6 and its address structures. Okay, let's move to the chapter 5th. During these chapters, we can learn about the principles of IP routing, direct route, and static route, overview of routing protocols and related concepts and terms, working principle, and configuration of RIP, differences and compatibilities between RIP v2 and RIP v1, features, basic working principles, and basic configuration of OSPF. And upon completing these chapters, we will understand the basic principles of IP routing, understand the types of routing, understand the basic principle and configuration of inter-VLAN routing, static routing, RIP, and OSPF. And the sixth section doesn't have too much content, only including packet filtering by ACL principle, function types, and basic configuration of NAT. and we will be able to configure ACLs to improve the security of small networks, be able to configure NAT to provide the internet connections for small networks. The final chapters we will introduce the basic principles, functions, features, and the configurations of HDLC protocol, and the basic principle, functions, features, and the configurations of PPP protocols as well. During this part, we will understand the common WAN access protocol and interconnections technologies such as HDLC and PPP, and be able to perform the basic configurations. Okay, that's all for today's videos, and if you are network engineers or someone who are interested in the network technologies, you could follow our channel, and we will post some technologies videos regularly. Thank you guys, and see you next video.